Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy TV podcast. It is the round 6 review. Big stuff's happening, a few injuries. A few of us tried to make our first upgrades last week, but that all didn't go to plan. We'll cover, obviously, our scores. The leagues are still flying. We thought it might be a down week, but they continued on nicely. Some injuries, some targets that we've still got going forward. Rookies, of course, and then some captains at the end, although that's probably something I don't want to speak about, George. But how'd you go this week, mate?
I don't know if it was good or not, but we somehow went up in the ranks with
It's good,
scoring
mate.
a bunch of like Roberts and Wilmot. So getting them off the field would be nice this week. So went at 2100. No, I've written the wrong thing. 2142. 2142 as I edit that, and ranked 23k. So went up. Went from 29k to 22k. I don't know how I went up, but I'll take it. Captain English, no Bont, and the trades were got rid of Baker, who I was kind of happy to hold, but someone had to go. Got rid of Ginby, and got rid of C-Mac. In came our two glorious new rookies on the bench, MJ. Probably can't call him MJ. Call him Johnson now. Matthew Roberts, and I brought in Sinclair. So I think you take a 105 from your trade in this week.
Mate, it's better than Mouse, all right? You take a 105 and you just move on, all right?
I'll take it. A lot of people would have brought in Neil. Like obviously, Took was injured, but there's a few others that didn't go super well. Like Clayton Oliver's finally dropped in cash. A few of the big dogs didn't show up too well. So I guess you take a Sinclair. And for this, from now on, or for this week anyway, we're doing our MVP and anchor of the week. It's a shame there's no anchors, but I think that anchor for me has to go to Wilmot with this. It's probably Roberts on field. Roberts and Wilmot, they can share it together. So I guess this is the advantage of getting rookies off quicker. You don't have to cop these sorts of rubbish scores. So like having a Warple, who I traded, would have been pretty handy. So I would have kept one of them off. And then the MVP. Now this guy caused a few tears in the Discord when it looked like he was going to get subbed, but it has to be Van Rooyen. Because I saw my season like almost finished when Tyler Young. Like, I've got enough bad rookies, and Tyler Young's on 20, and Van Rooyen's on 20 at 3/4 time, and then it was the JBR show. So that was one of the most fun performances I've seen from a key forward in a long time. Just taking, if you actually look at the replay of the mark, it's like it could be close to mark of the year that he took. So.
Thank you, Damien Hardwick.
This is so rough because it should have been season over for those that picked Van Rooyen over Ryan, who was clearly the better pick, right? And the fact that the Tigers subbed off Miller, they moved Bolter forward, and so they just cleared up the defense for Van Rooyen to start taking marks when he had done nothing all game. He was like 3 minutes from being subbed and then sent to China next week. You should have been copying another bad score on field. You should have got no cash gen, and it should be another dead rookie. The fact that he is like in the parallel universe that I have to suffer through, he's instead scored like a 70 or 80, and he's going to be good. It's just so bogus. Like 28% of people have got Van Rooyen, like 14% or whatever have the superior Ryan. It's just absolutely garbage. You get bailed out from Hardwick and circumstance. Like, honestly, just a yoke, a big old yoke.
For what it's worth, he was on my bench, but it was the happiest bench player I've ever had. So, Tom McDonald, he's the one going to China, I think, to learn that language. Anyway, JD, how did you go this week?
Despite my disgust over Van Rooyen,
Shut up.
I went 23-11, so I had a pretty good week score wise. I think it was like I was like about 500 for the round, and moved up 10,000 spots into the top 3K now, so 2,800. So pretty good round rate, pretty good score, and it kind of just goes to show there's still only a couple 100 points between a lot of ranks at the moment, which is what I feel like I probably put on par, and it shot me up massively. My trades, unfortunately, were sadness, and more sadness with MJ, Roberts, and Took coming in for Ashcroft, who I went early on trading out Ginby and Baker. I traded Ashcroft over Chandler, which I think looks pretty good so far. So I'm happy with that. But yeah, Took going down is really sad because Roberts and Took were on field, so double injuries on field, which I guess if I want to give an anchor, it's probably to the injuries this week. Like that's where it goes. If those two were probably a little proper scores of what you'd expect from them, I was in the chance for the weekly this week. And I'll give my 3 votes. I guess it has to be Bontempelli, who was my vice captain. It's pretty hard to go past a 182 VC, so he'll get the 3 or the star or whatever we're calling it this week. MVP.
MVP, George.
We'll come up with a new name.
Yeah, I guess I have to go through my absolute garbage week. It's funny, JD. Like last week, you were saying, "Oh, we're all fantasy man. We're all on Enno's team for the season." In 1 week, you've chewed me up. So part of my own doing, but obviously you had a good week. But scored 1996. So shout out to the birth year. That is not great. And to be honest, it could have actually even been worse. So obviously getting Took in like JD, same trades, but managing to find the captaincy on him was just a real kick in the balls. And I traded out Chandler too, which was looking okay until once again him and Van Rooyen was it was just a 20-year-old show. I guess Chandler's a couple years older than that. But
Chandler should have had a better score as well because he had 2 of the most garbage.
No, don't do that.
I've
He
ever
took
seen.
Van Rooyen's goal.
No. There were 2 absolute
But we're
bogus
not going down
clangers
this
that
path.
Chandler got that he shouldn't have had. Like, as just not
Chandler's
so.
good.
Anyway,
Yeah, he's good.
it should have been close
he
to a
deserves-
ton.
Oh, again, yeah, he probably kicked a couple of easy goals too. But regardless, someone had to go. So I don't know. Hopefully Ashcroft can do all right this week because he was the one I held on to. And MVP. So look, as I said, I scored 1996 with Took captain. I'll say why, because I went VC on Dawson, right? Saw all these people trading him in the last couple of weeks, whacking the VC on for their first week and going bang. And I'm like, against Hawthorn, they're not playing Finn. I'll go Dawson and I'll try and get some of this, which just was stupid. I did have it on Bont a couple of days leading up, but that's why Took got the C. And to be honest, Clary was the other one, so it wouldn't have been much better, but obviously would have taken the points. Radaglia and Fergus Green. I'm sorry, like they are the biggest MVPs for me the last couple of weeks. Radaglia turning his cash, he was just stunted at maybe 200, and to go 88, 88, 75 in the last 3 weeks, two of which would have been on my field, not the Easter Monday game, is just saved me because honestly, Roberts over on field over one of them could have been more in the bin. Like it could have been the most horror ever. So anyway. Look, I guess I have to give Took the anchor because that's exactly what he did. He's completely anchored me with that score. And yeah, look, he's injured, but we're not giving him an out, JD. He was on 35 halfway through.
He was not good.
Anyway.
It wasn't
so
good.
it was nothing anyway. Anyway, we'll move past it. That's comfortably my worst week in a while. You don't get the score like that outside of a bye round too much. So we move on, but I didn't mention my rank. I'm still at 4K, so I'm sorry, George. All this complaining, I'm still, in an okay position. George's sitting there.
It's lonely out here.
I did this in round 1, baby. That's where the old handshake led 50.
Yeah.
Took 40. So I bet you.
JD, you're next.
Watch out, JD. I guess we'll just get off the top what to do with the likes of Roberts and MJ and all. You look at your benches, boys. I know we're all doing it, and it's just not good viewing. So hopefully you've got some of these money makers like a JVR, even though it was lucky, like a Ryan. Hopefully you've got one of them because, Roberts is going to be. They haven't given a time frame, but it's some sort of knee, so he'll be at least a month, I would say. Whether or not he gets back in the team by then, we don't know. I think Johnson will play. I don't know about you boys, but hopefully he stays in the team. I think Chapman just redid his hammy, so he'll be out. But
Frederick's injured as well, right?
As well,
so,
yep. So it's only really Switkowski, but in different, should be all right. Constable, we're all still holding, I guess. Have you guys still got Chesser?
No, I traded Chesser out to Zeeble in like round 2 or something like that.
So George has Chesser as well. So he's got all these guys on top of with Chesser as well. So what are you doing, George? What do you fix your bench? You just can't. You got to keep upgrading.
I got to upgrade till I can't, and then fix it.
Yeah.
So
I think that's what you do.
Yeah.
I think I've got another 2 weeks of squeezing, and then it's I don't know. We'll hope and pray. But I think I'm relying on the guys that I'm bringing in to make money and then cash them in at later points. I need Seamus Mitchell. Like when I was doing my planning, I'm like, oh yeah, Ginby's going to get to 350, Cam McKenzie 330, Robert's going to get to 300. Well, Jesus, like it's all wrong. What's the point of planning? So now I need Seamus Mitchell to make a bit more money and Shinkoda coming in next week. Like that's where my money's coming from. So I've still got like a Tyler Young and Davey and stuff. So they can like top up,
get 100K
center field and whatnot. So it's pretty concerning. But there's enough good, like you guys got like Samson Ryan. He's going to make a lot more and like a ton of it. Like he's been a few almost games, big games coming for him. So yeah, again, the plan is to just keep upgrading as normal till you can't, and then have a week off, fix a rookie, do a downgrade, and bank cash. So
yeah. Ryan plays West Coast in 2 weeks, so I'm penciling in a cheeky little 100 there.
Most definitely.
Be finding a way to the field that week.
Yep. I'm thinking about it this week as well. I could have fielded him, didn't really realise, and I didn't mention Rouston as well. That look, he was playing full pocket, but that's another dead rook, unfortunately. So philosophy really just got to keep upgrading. Look, if you're going to cop a donut on a line, of course, try and fix one there, but you just got to cop it. Yes, the bench looks dire.
Just quickly, isn't Chester supposed to come back in 2 to 3?
Yes,
I think he's looking at 2 to 3 or 3 to 4. Yeah. What's going on over there?
So he can give me like a 25 in the buys, so that would be nice. Hopefully,
I don't know if you saw that, but I tweeted out today that they had 12 of their 17 were still to be confirmed, and then a few hours later they then released something on their website that actually had some of the details on it, which I thought was very interesting timing. But apparently there'd been an article from a Western newspaper where they'd been looking at the same thing as well. So yeah, it's very strange that their injury management at the moment. I'd be pretty worried if I was a fan. And just having a quick look, it is manager. Yeah. It's 2 to 3 weeks on that knee, and I think just given how long the injury list is and some of the names being played, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back in straight away.
Someone's dropping plates in George's house.
Yeah,
must be another Roberts owner.
I guess the other two, obviously, well, Roberts we've spoken about, but Toke, I mean, they haven't given a time frame, but needs a trade, JD. I can't imagine tear of a meniscus being anything less than 3. So,
yeah,
got to move him on.
Have to come back and be like, crazy news. Turns out it's very minor. 1 to 2 weeks. Won't be any longer than that.
Avoid
Feels great. Already back and running this week. Like that's the type of thing I'd have to hear to be
less than 1% chance of that.
Holding. No, there's 0% chance. Okay, there's no chance. I mean, he's already traded out in terms of trade plans.
While we're on the topic, would you guys, if he's listed as 3 weeks, is that a trade or hold?
I'm trading, man.
Probably just trading.
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of don't want to use a last boost on him. Like maybe the problem is like the mid bench is what we're talking about when people are struggling. So if you've got Johnson, Roberts, and then you've got Took beside them now, like what are you doing for cover? Like it's just so bad. Yeah. Maybe you can move Roberts into your forward line and play. It's just awful spot to be in though.
Yeah, the fact it's your last boost does hurt. So that definitely plays a part. But you just got to keep upgrading, I think.
Yep, that's the philosophy. Keep upgrading.
Keep cadence. Just go.
Yep. And when I can't do a good trade anymore, that's when I have to double down.
That's when you stop. Yep. All right. First big topic is some concerning premiums. There's some interesting names here that have probably been about the mark for quite a while. But some people ask questions. Some people want to trade them out, and we'll probably go over them here and give our opinion whether we think they should be doing that. Obviously, if you have Took, you have no way you can trade guys like this out. But if you don't, and you're clear, and you can do a 1 up, 1 down, is it logical boosting an underperforming premium? Like LDU is the first one we'll get to, who obviously came out of the blocks firing, a couple of 150s, and since that sort of calf complaint has really meandered, I want to say, I don't even know what happened. Was it 60 Tog on the weekend? Just gone. So I think he was 69. Off for a bit getting checked and something was happening.
It was an ankle getting checked.
100 90, 72, and it's really just concerning. If you obviously didn't have Took Jaws and you could do an upgrade, one up, one down, get Will Day, would you boost out LDU as well? And for that, people was probably using one of your last two boosts.
This is a hard one because he's clearly capable of scoring well, and you can't really trade premiums now. It's the wrong time. You need to focus on getting rookies off, right? The problem is, like, is he playing injured, and how much cash is he going to leak, and can you afford to cop that cash drop if he continues to look not good on the eye? So this is
break even.
It's really hard because if they said that, look, he might be carrying something. That's a concern. If they said he was like 100% with his health or whatever, with his whatever injury he's carrying, because that ankle, whatever was getting looked at, then I think you just hold. JD. I don't know. How do you trade him out in upgrade season? I don't know.
Yeah, especially using one of your last couple of boosts.
I don't understand exactly what's going on with him. So there's just a few flags with potential injury. And coming back from the calf cork as well is a bit of a worry. Tough. I honestly don't know what I'd do, to be honest. If I had flush for trades and boost, I'd probably boost him out just so you're not on a falling knife here, just in case he continues to play injured.
Yeah, I mean, if it was in my team, I've Took, so I definitely wouldn't be trading. But even if I didn't have Took, I wouldn't be stuffing around with LDU. I would hold him in my side, I think. Unless you're like really confident that he's actually injured or carrying something and it's going to drag on his performance. The weird part is, as you mentioned, like just the 69% time on ground last week, where he's kind of been averaging mid 80s. So it's like 25% down in that game. A little bit of a dip in his CBAs as well. But prior to that point, this is the number one rated player in the last 15 games of the competition. So, does he bounce back from this at some point? I think yes. Is he already pretty cheap? He's 560, so he's priced around 100. I don't know. Like, I'd just rather do 2 down, 1 up while you can and continue to upgrade cadence rather than moving on LDU. I just don't think it's worth it unless you're pretty confident that he's going to back up this 70 with more 70s. But I think he goes back to at least the low hundreds, kind of high 90s range, which just isn't worth a trade for me. I just don't think it is.
Yep. Andy Brayshaw's the next one, and I mean, not a huge ownership, but 11% of teams, and you've again sort of he's dropped all his money now, and he's averaging 90 and is priced at about that almost. So again, he's a healthy player. He's capable.
I don't know he is healthy. I'm pretty sure he's carrying a back issue.
That was in the preseason.
Is it a back issue? Did they say that?
They haven't said that. That's the rumor.
Right.
So that would not suit. Now, the quote from JL was that he's close to 100%. He said that, I think, 2 weeks ago. So I guess you just kind of believe that and hope he comes good. I don't know.
Again.
I think he's too cheap. He's like 40K less than LDU. So it's like you probably need to use money unless you're going to like a Will Day.
I literally just searched Brayshaw in Twitter, and today one of the Freo track watchers, Andrew Brayshaw, another training away from the main group as his forward Lockie Schultz. Yeah, he's probably carrying something, but again, if he's playing every week, can you? My point is, he's 520 now. If you still have him, you've copped the blow.
Probably got to commit now.
Both of these players are the ones I'm going to be looking to trade in when things turn around. Whether that's post buy or they have a week off and managed whatever it is, like that's when I'm going to be looking to jump on these guys. They've lost so much money that I just don't see the value in trading them beyond, just getting rookies off the field. I'd rather be fielding Brayshaw for sad 90s each week than copping another Roberts score.
Yeah, so assumedly they're doing a 1 up, 1 down with 2 of their trades and then a boost, maybe, one of these guys to Cogs or something like that. If you had 2 or 1 boosts left, I'd probably say no. Maybe if you had 3, you could justify it and just pretend it's an injury, which it kind of is. These
How
guys.
confident are you that Cogs outscores Brayshaw at LDU next week with all of Perryman, Green, and Josh Kelly in the side?
Cogs has been the best player for the last 2 weeks. He has to
With
stay in
people
there.
missing, but he wasn't for the first part of the year. He was bang on average.
I don't know how much coaches would look into like Supercoach scoring. Like he's still getting 30 a week, kicking it inside 50. Yeah,
No, he
watches it.
wasn't. Yeah,
I wasn't over him, so I wasn't watching as closely, but he was still getting the ball. He just had bad disposal efficiency.
No, that's fair. I think CD was a little bit harsh on some of his opening games, to be honest, but that could just be a biased owner. But yeah, like both of Brayshaw and LDU are on I'm waiting for their form to turn so I can jump on them. I think it will probably happen at some point. I can understand why it's frustrating as an owner, but I wouldn't let it get in the way of doing other trades. And yeah, if these guys were in my team and I didn't have Took, I wouldn't be using a boost on them. That's for sure.
If you had 3 boosts, would you?
No, I probably still wouldn't. I want to upgrade.
Well, they're still upgrading. Let's say they're going 1 up, 1 down. They're getting a all day because he's not much, right? You can do that easily with.
Yeah, but you could be correcting like these dead rookies on your bench or what? Like actually getting cash gen going. Yeah. Like get rid of who's a good example? Like get rid of Cowan for Wagner, bank 80K for your next week's trades, and actually have cash generation going. Like I think that's what I'd rather do than get rid of Brayshaw.
Okay. Then I guess we definitely sit on the park with Jordan Ridley as the last one. That's a bit of a concerning premium, but he is what he is. He's a 90 average player, maybe a bit more if things go well. And he's not carrying an injury. So to me, you just hold him to the buys.
This is one I do have.
Yeah.
So he's priced at roughly 90. He's giving you 90s. Like you just hold until the buys and upgrade when you need to.
Yeah.
But
he's an easier call to make than the other two boys. But
people are fielding McKenna, Wilmot, like these types of guys. Like, well, Ridley is not your problem. That's not it.
No. You got what you bought really. So.
Right. He outscored Sheasel by like 30 points this week. So, it's a pretty big hold right there.
Yeah.
So we should add Sheasel to this list.
Yeah. Look, LDU is the hardest one probably because I guess he's 560 and you could easily make a swap to a primo that's not carrying an injury that, someone like a Parrish is a straight swap, right? But I don't know.
I think the play is you just hope he comes good in time.
Yeah,
things can go very pear-shaped if he's playing through injury. We don't actually know that for sure, and he only had like a thing looked at, ankle looked at, whatever. So I think you hope he comes good if the club says nothing. Yeah. It was like Finn Callahan. Finn Callahan was too scared to tackle for 2 weeks. All of a sudden, he looks good again, getting 25 touches. So sometimes you got to be a bit patient, and that's sort of might not happen, but that might be the play you have to make given your position.
All right, we've added a couple. Sheasel, then we will speak about him. It probably is a fair reason too. Just didn't go his way on the weekend. So Hall into the team. Nick Holman always sort of plays those forward tagging roles, and he sort of spent time on him. So to half time, I don't think he had more than maybe 5 or 6 touches. So he got sent forward of the ball to try and impact up there. And then obviously North struggled doing anything really in the game. So again, got a few touches, but scored a 50 and looks pretty dire. But the problem is his break even is now up to 99. If Hall's playing next week and nothing changes, how concerned are you with Sheasel going forward now? JD, I'll go to you.
I'm at least somewhat concerned, but I think he's earned the right to have another week in our sides, pending Clarkson saying stuff like he's going to play forward for a half this week, in which case I think he's fine just to trade out now, basically. But yeah, like he was someone that up until like previously to this week, I was already counting him as a keeper in my side. So I think has earned another right to go again, just given the factors of a tag, the corky, the thumb, all this type of stuff. So we'll just see how he goes, but another bad score or another week where he's got a mixed role, and I'll be happy to jump off and run away. I think there are a couple of interesting stats that came out this week One of them was that he'd received something like 17, 21 handballs received from teammates in the last couple of weeks. It was just 2 on the weekend. So that's a pretty stark drop-off. We'll just see what happens and whether we get some reversion to what happened in the first few weeks or whether this is the new norm.
Yep.
No, you can't trade this week. You've seen 5, like, not uber primo, but like outstanding scores 5 times.
He was
Well, they were
basically F1
F3 or
this
something.
week.
Yeah.
Wasn't it just
Well, there you
Taranto that
go.
was ahead until this week?
I think Jez.
Oh, sure. Yep.
You can't trade this week. There's enough to say that there was reasons, like 5 of them, as to why he scored bad this week. I guess he lost all the kick-ins to Hull. Hull. I think 5.
3.
to
He's
Hull.
been averaging like 3 a game, so it's not
Yeah.
huge.
So I guess watch on that stat for next week. No, you can't trade this week. You just cop the price drop. You trade him and he comes good again, like he has the past 5 weeks, and pretty awful feeling. So I'm not running that risk. I will hold and assess week to week.
Can I just say that is one thing I found weird about their plan to mitigate a tag on him. We've seen this with Dacos when he has been tagged, that they actually gave him the kick-ins and more of them so he could at least get the ball and start to run off and that type of stuff. It's kind of strange to me that North decided not to do that and give them all to Zeeble and Hall, but I guess it's like an interesting aside.
It probably goes to how smart Collingwood are and well coached and just know what they're doing with Dacos. Like, we won't get into
Dacos
that,
takes
but,
the reins there.
Yeah, probably. Well, JHF is there, but look, he's a trade. I think I can just tick that one off if you're still sort of holding Horn Francis. At this point, he can gladly go. I think his number, CBAs were down a bit. Yeah, look, he eked out some 80s somehow, really, in games where he was looking like another poor score the last few weeks, but he can most definitely go. I don't think we need to speak too much on him, George, unless you got anything.
No, him and Setterfield, they're not making money anymore. Setterfield's very annoying because I thought he'd get to 500. It doesn't look like it. So you could have a rookie in that spot making 30K a week or whatever, but instead you've got a guy making no money. I guess at least he's keeping a rookie off the field. But at the same time, you need to make money. So I guess I wouldn't, unless they're going to lose a lot of cash, I don't think they're urgent trade outs, but when you can, they go.
Yep.
But not Hopper. Hopper stays for a while.
Yeah, I mean, this is all about the break-even games. If you don't have big issues and Setterfield's how you get upgrades done this week, then I'm all for moving him on. And yeah, Horn Francis, I think, is going backwards now, so can get off both of those.
Yep. All right, that's a few of the concerning players we have. There's probably a couple others, but they're mostly the ones at front of mind, especially a few of the mid prices. I mean, that's the big decision this week, who to trade out. So we might speak about that towards the end. But now we're getting to the fun stuff, some targets, some guys that might be coming down in price, some mids especially, and then a few of the lower price players. But Maxi Gawn, look, we'll bring him up. Rowan, we could have been speaking about just before, right? And Gawn is someone that a lot of people will be looking at. So I guess I'll just ask that as a combined question. Gawn's 560, 228 break even. Let's say in a week or two he's 530. Would you consider making the swap from Rowan to Big Maximus, George? I know a lot of people are pretty keen to do it. I know Rowan's been largely underwhelming, but is that worth the trade?
No. Well, Rowan is he's annoying. His DT is pretty good. His SC is not as good.
So in Dream
not
Team,
worth
for
a
reference,
trade.
he's the second ruck. So I think English Marshall are 1 and 2 at the moment in that format.
Yeah.
I think Darcy actually might be.
I think Darcy's just third, but
That 40 probably isn't helping.
It's 2 points below.
Well, I looked at it, George. His kicking efficiency is usually mid-60s, and this year it's 43, something really low. So obviously that's only a 6-game sample, and then his clangers are up. Kick clangers are up a couple. So he's whatever is happening, his kicking is not great, and it's probably a lot of hack kicks from stoppage. when he, takes out the ruck and stuff. So that's not going his way. Everything else is pretty much on par. And especially with his 2019 season when he was sort of 115 in the ruck, 110, 115, everything else is on par besides that. So that's the main point, I think, where he's losing 10 or so points a game.
I think it's if you want to
get
get
around is my
Grundy,
point.
Yeah, that's good that you pointed that out. I didn't realize that. I guess if you have Grundy, you can make the swap next week. You can bet against English. Do you really want to pay 700 for English?
Do I want to own either of these rucks? That's my question.
So
One played a lot forward as well. Second half, he played full forward.
They switch it all the time. So is that going to keep happening? Do you want to even be part of that, JD?
Like a couple of things here, right? English is R1 and R1 by a lot. It's like 25 points probably, like 20 to 25 points. And I think part of the reason why we avoid paying 700K for a lot of these other guys is because you can generally find someone cheaper that's going to average somewhat
within
similar.
Less than that, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you had Bont at 620K to start the year, and he's a 128 average, which is pass led, and now it's comparable to Oliver, right? Like you can, not always, but you can find guys that are comparable, especially in other lines. But when English is that far over, like R1 and 2, if you don't have him, I think you have to get him at some point. Death riding him feels like it's going to be a season ender. It's really tough because it's just one of those things where you feel like as soon as you trade him in, he's going to get injured or concussed or something like that. And I appreciate that. But I just think like his value over next best is so large, you just kind of have to get him. In terms of like Marshall to Grundy, I think this Marshall to Gawn, this could be the type of trade where, like, if you're in a position like me where maybe in a couple of weeks I can't do an upgrade anymore, and so I have to do a rookie fix, and then Marshall to Gawn's about the same or it's a little bit down, maybe I could look at it to differentiate my team. But I'm not jumping, for joy to go and do this trade because, once again, I want to get upgrades done. If I can continue to upgrade and it means avoiding that, then fine. It's only by like some strange circumstance I think that you'd be trading to Gawn, or Gawn would just have to look really, really good over these next couple of rounds to warrant that. Like back to the 140s or whatever that we saw in week 1 and just looking like the dominant ruck.
Yep. I can totally get behind that.
I get forward status. Wait on that.
I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, look, you expect as he gets a little bit healthier off the injury to get more and more time in the ruck, but they look pretty threatening with him up forward, and Grundy can't play elsewhere, so it might be close. I guess it's just going to be next 4 games, see what happens, see if he can get there. We can bring up. There was an article released this morning. We'll go over that towards the end.
31%, I think.
So yeah, needs to average 4% more. Get up there over the next 4 weeks.
It wouldn't surprise me if they just manage him forward for a bit. Like they want him healthy for the back half of the year.
It wouldn't either. True. And if JVR stays in the team and it's just Petty, maybe they like to keep Max up there as a bigger threat. You know what I mean? Because for 3 quarters, Gordon was the target, right? JVR wasn't doing anything or had done nothing, and Petty hadn't really done nothing either. I think he took a mark late in the game as well. So Max was the key target. Unfortunately, he just can't kick. That's always been the case. Jack Steele, you've written here, George, a bit of a sad one to see and watch him play on the weekend, isn't it?
That was the worst game he's ever played.
And I give him all the excuse in the way. I don't know really why he needed to be rushed back. Saints are flying. They're on top of the ladder. They're managing without him. For someone who, I mean, we all saw the leaked X-ray. He literally snapped his shoulder in half. Why is he playing 3 weeks later? I'm not too sure, but of course we aren't doctors. So
he's going to be very
enough. He's going to be 500, George. He's going to be very cheap.
I mean, this is a blessing, by the way, for us. We were talking about cash crisis. We've got money going out. You're going to have to find discount guys, and so being able to pick up someone like Steele for low 500s, and we'll talk about some of these other ones, but like these are the types that you're just waiting for them to turn. You're waiting for that first good sign and jumping all over them. I think a couple of other interesting like implications for this round is that obviously part of jumping on Sinclair was the thought that with Steele coming back, he'd move back. But we actually saw Sinclair's CBAs go to 42%, which is his season high so far. Clark picked up to 42% as well, and Steele also had 42%. So they eased him in with basically like a half load in the midfield, and it showed he just didn't look particularly good, jogging around for a lot of it. So I think like watching his CBAs and probably his time on ground over the next few weeks should start to give you an indicator for when he's getting back to match fit. But yeah, like sad to see him play. I'm really excited about him as an option. We just got to wait for some signs that things are turning.
George, before you speak on Sinclair, what's this going on? Like 2 weeks, it was the second half strictly mid. This week it was the same thing. He had 0 out of 7 first quarter, 2 out of 7 in the second, comes out in the third, and he's the leading mid. Played the most in that quarter, and then the fourth sort of a couple out of 3. So what's this second half mid move? It's like it's a designated move every second half.
I don't know.
He gets 60 points in the first half playing defense, and then now he's a midfielder for the second half. It's weird timing of it. Like it's not just a natural rotation right in and out. It's
wasn't there
second
talk
half
that,
thing.
Ed Kerno was giving him attention?
He was that
first
game,
half.
yeah. So that might have played a role. Maybe he wasn't due to go to the midfield until that happened. Maybe you're right. So I don't know, because Ed didn't follow into midfield. Ed didn't play midfield at all that game.
And to be honest, I thought Sinclair was more impactful in the second half of this game when he was forward of the ball. Like some of his entries inside 50 were really nice.
Yeah. Are you concerned about continuing, George, or you think it should be okay still for
I still
100
think
average maybe?
Yeah, if this continues, probably around the 100 mark, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
He's a good player. Probably work his way into the season a bit more as well. Like, yeah, he was their best on. I don't know, like maybe it's just a lever they can pull when they're trying to change things up. So I don't know if it will happen every week. And obviously, still with 44% CBAs, I highly doubt that continues. So
yeah,
keep
an eye on him.
Sinclair's all right. He's a decent target. There's no rush. It's just if you don't know who else to get, you need a defender that helps you buy structure, and then Steele, just see how he goes. A fun fact on Steele. Guess how many DT points he scored in the second half of the fourth quarter?
That's a very odd. I'm going to go like 25.
Probably like
second
30
half of the fourth
maybe.
quarter. Yeah,
44.
Oh,
so in the last 15 minutes of the game, like real game time, he chucked on 44 points, junked it up late.
He needed to put stuff to stat sheet somewhat. Wasn't happy with that. So I think it was mostly uncontested stuff. So see how he goes.
So just quickly, the other thing on Sinclair, like he's now about 13, 14 points a game down on last year. I was having a quick look as to why. He's only tackled 4 times this year.
Yeah.
He was averaging about 3 a game last year, and I think he had about a mark a game more, but his disposals are roughly the same. So I would say that's odd, and that fixes itself up. He's priced at about 105. I think you get about 105. I think he's still fairly priced as a pick, and there is some upside. I don't see him going below what he's averaged at from here.
Yeah, I think you see a lot of the other guys. They just have you saw Liam Baker, short, completely destroyed him. You see the Dogs rebounders. There's nothing that can really go wrong with Sinclair. He's the main defender when he's there, and the CBA mid he can still score okay. Although we'd like him in defense. So
and they like get the ball in his hands even when he's in midfield. They look for they want him kicking it inside 50.
So I think he's a safe pick.
Yeah, just quick, last thing on Sinclair Steele talk. Sinclair's got that first buy, so if he ends up being your last defender upgrade around that point, then so be it. I don't think he's going to go on that stretch of 120, 130 games like we saw last year and price you out. Could be wrong, but I'm happy to leave him to upgrade at that point.
Yeah. Gawn and Steele, a couple of cheap future targets. Mills is one that already is, I mean, these guys are already 550, but Mills is also there. Played a lot of defense the last couple of weeks to cover for some injuries. Has a 128 break even. Again, talking about the cash crushes, JD, someone that if they get players back, he gets back to, even if it's just 50, 60% CBAs. I mean, that is more than enough for someone like Callum Mills, priced at, mid to low 500s to warrant jumping on for pretty cheap, not going to cost you much from a Setterfield or maybe a Hopper bit down the track. You want to see the boys back, at least Tom McCartan. I don't know if Paddy will probably ever be back this year at least. Rampy, of course, and I think they lost Fox, right, to another bloody concussion from Duncan. So, yeah, you'll probably want to wait a couple of weeks just to see that Mills has actually been moved back out of the defence and at least getting some mid-time. And, yeah, you boys be keen on someone like that at that sort of price?
Sort of hoping he gets defender status because Paddy's TBC and his brother is a test. So it's one key defender they should get back. He played key position. Saw him on the square with the vision of that lining up on Hawkins at the start of centre bounce. So Mills is Mr. Fixer. He's not really a midfielder. Like, he's not a permanent midfielder. He's Mr. Fixer. He's utility. But like in any role, he should be able to go 100 odd. And if he gets DPP, then that's a target I'll be looking at because he has the upside when they come to their senses and put him in the midfield, which might not happen. But if the price is right and the DPP's there, then yes. But if he's only mid, then it's just a wait and see how they line up. I want to see a block of form, midfield role. But that could change at any point. But at least the floor should be around 100.
JD, if he gets DPP, it's an absolute lock.
I mean, I think so.
The bigger question is if he's mid only still and he's getting some more mid time. Would you be interested?
I'm interested as mid only anyway, but it does come down to I think either defenders coming back and him going back to the midfield, or a midfielder going down and him kind of getting a role in there. So either of those. But he was a top 8 mid last year and only had I think low 50% CBAs, which was the lowest of the top 8. So he doesn't necessarily need a ton to get there, but he does need some. And I don't want to see him playing key position defense. He's had, I think, 27, 0, and 10 over the last 3 weeks. He's actually only had one game this year over 36%. So,
need to see change.
Yeah. We need to see some change for him to be relevant.
Spoke about Brayshaw. He's pretty cheap, and again, would you have to see some turn in form, or supposedly he's carrying some injury, been training away from the main group repeatedly in certain weeks. Couple of very interesting ones. Chad Warner is below 500k now. Someone that people were maybe keen on to start the year, maybe very, very early in preseason. Obviously finished the end of last year very strong in the finals and whatnot. He's 492k. Now, again, probably not someone you'd be looking at because he has had a pretty average start to the year. But he's bloody cheap. 142 break even as well, so you could probably see. But, I mean, he's had an 80 in there, 50, an 80, and a 60, right in between a 137. So, not great going. Any interest, JD?
This was my inclusion on the list just because of his price and if we're going to be looking for value guys. Swans have been smashed around the start of the year. You kind of got to wait for their, I think, form as a team to turn. But over the last 9 games last year, I think he averaged 107. He got tagged once or twice in that stretch. He was really on quite a hot streak. And that was after starting the year pretty poorly with like multiple sub-80 scores at some point. So, waiting for Chad... So apologies, along with the Swans form to turn. And if it does, I think, sub 500k for him is ridiculously cheap. And that is someone that you could be looking at as a discount player in your midfield. And then I guess just round it out, this is the last one I popped in here, which is Wines at 410k. He's got an 80 break even this week. And this is just, once again, really cheap. I'm not sure you could ever go to him and like what you'd need to see to be convinced that Wines is back, because he's just played so far below his Brownlow year, really for a couple of years now. But that's the super deep option there if you're looking for really cheap midfielders.
George, what do you think of those two? Pass?
I don't want to stress going into a game having to watch those two play. I think Chad can turn it around. I think Wine's off the limited preseason, and he's not getting the CBAs he used to. They're rolling heaps more players through there. So Wine's a no. Chad's probably a no, but he's capable. And then the other one's Rao without Took for a bit. He's improved. His tackle numbers are probably carrying him at the moment, and contested numbers. He'll be, like 450k.
460. He's got a 31 break even. So I think unlike some of these other guys, which are like, let's wait and see, wait for the form to turn. Rao is kind of one it feels like you've got to make a bit of a decision on this week if you want to go. Yeah.
Nah, like I got money issues, but we'll cross that bridge when it comes.
Not that bad. Not
I
that
got
bad.
issues, but I'm not that bad.
I
Well,
mean,
I'm thinking of
yeah.
keeping Hopper, so
Maybe we are.
We'll see what happens. I'm like 2-3 injuries away from like having to keep Hopper, I think. So, nah, I don't think that's nah.
It's kind of interesting because I'm pretty sure I'd rather have Rao than Hopper from here.
That's interesting.
Probably average similar.
Like mid 90s, maybe. I guess, like, yeah.
I mean,
don't know.
Rao's going to get a good
I'm
patch of being the number
planning
one guy,
No,
or at least.
I'm getting off Hopper at some point. There's no way I'm keeping him. So, yeah, no, I wouldn't be trading in Rao either.
If we have to keep him, then you're not probably going that well.
That's the point. He's not a keeper, but
yeah,
money.
To be
20
fair,
trades.
look, he dropped a couple of 60s without he's going well. Anyway, we'll move on. We've spent a bit of time there.
We filled up the watch lists.
We've got more. Let's move to the now this week. Big targets, guys that we think are near the top of the line. So we'll start with a few mids. Clary Oliver, JD is salivating at this. After
Not really. I don't think I can afford him even if he gets to 620.
Money problems.
No boosts, no money.
Look, it was probably coming. He had a couple of average. I mean, he can be a clanger collector at times.
Oh my god!
Since
I've got him, all he's done is turn it over,
Yeah.
and oh my goodness,
Yeah.
he plays North. I'm expecting a bounce back. Anyway, continue.
Well, I was just about to say that, Jules. Wasn't this week of last year when I didn't have him right? He dropped the 70 or whatever. Well, I mean, that was worse, but against Port for no reason. Doesn't get tagged. Next week plays the Tigers. He's 180 break even and he hits it. So whatever it was, 160, 170. So similar thing here, 169 break even and he's down to 670K, but he has North this week.
Yeah.
If you don't have him, are you waiting?
He's got a 145 average in the last 3 against them, but just given the form that we've seen out of the last couple of weeks, as well as the clangers coming off the flu, I'm still waiting. Yeah, I'm greedy. I'm not paying 670 for him. I want blood.
Yeah. So if he scores 136, they've got him. He's 650, and then he'll have a 170 break even still.
Christ.
Actually, no, that might be wrong. That might be right because still has at 98. So, look, we need him to go big George as owners, and if you're not owning him, you just sort of hope he puts 2 in a row that aren't too flat, like even a 110, right? And you'll still wait for him to come on down. So,
I reckon he copped a shoulder knock as well.
Yeah, I mean, I miss stuff when I'm at the game, but
okay. He was just cradling
he
it
looked
for
alright.
like
I just didn't realise
he was all right. Yeah.
all these disposals were clangers. So
yeah,
that's just unfortunate what happens. And that happens early too in a game like that. Then your team comes from behind and wins and you're not really a major part. I mean, he kicked a nice goal, but it's too hard to come back from in Supercoach.
Score should have been worse again. Oh my god.
Well, hang on. The week before, he got 20 touches in the fourth quarter, and there was no scaling to be done.
The week before?
So
that
was a close game. Probably plus 30 points on him.
Yep, that's sometimes the nature of it. If you don't come out,
you win some, you lose some.
So we all say wait on him another week. Petrarca is an interesting one. We'll obviously group the D's mids together here. Obviously got the same fixture that fixture probably gets thrown around more than it should, but it is pretty cake for Melbourne still. And Petrarca's at 576. Has anyone got any interest with him? I feel like after the last couple of years of, at some stage him being in our teams, people have maybe fallen out of love a bit with Track, but had a big off season, big TikTok off season. So is he due to go bang at some point, JD?
He's currently sitting in my midfield at the moment. Because I had exactly enough money to get him.
This is nice. Yeah.
The price is nice. Yep. 576K North, Gold Coast Hawks and X3. Petrarca is like one of the biggest downhill skiers in the comp, I reckon, when it comes to looking at Supercoach scoring and when he scores well and when he scores poorly. And like Con, you're chalking all 3 of those up as wins, surely, right?
Yeah.
So last year in wins, he averaged 121, in losses 88. And then against bottom 10 opponents last year, he averaged 122. And I see 3 wins against bottom 10 opponents. So I feel like this is a partly because I'm forced into it with money. I think there's other mids I'd rather have, but if I'm going to try and time a Christian Petrarca fixture, it seems like now would be the go.
Any interest, George?
Yeah, probably last upgrade. He can have these down games. I've owned him for a few times, and yeah, it's just he can be a bit up and down. So I'll wait it out.
Yep.
But I can see him in my midfield at some point, and I think his CBAs are quite high. Like he had 143 game in there, but everything else is above 65, between 65 and 80, and
Yep.
don't think he's too far off forward status. So, like I'm not penciling that in like as a forward target, but yeah, see how he goes. He's still a target if he's mid status though, or only mid. So I'll look at him later in the year.
Interestingly, the Tigers game was the first game he led CBAs. So Clary had his lowest for the year at 76, and Petrarca had his highest since round 1 at 79%.
Yeah.
I wouldn't read into that too much. It's just kind of interesting.
Yeah. Marginal. Obviously, timing with goals and whatnot. I thought he was probably their best player personally. I guess Viney was pretty good too, but I thought Track was pretty good. Yep. So yeah, the timing does make a lot of sense.
Just looking at his scores, he has a lot of like from last year. He has a fair few sub tons, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 sub tons throughout the year, not including finals. I guess one was a flu, so
he's that player.
I think he
can go 160, but can go 80. So
yeah, so hopefully you time it right. So
yeah.
Still think he's a fine target.
And if you're timing it in round 6, you're owning him for quite a stint. So you might expect
strap into
the
roller
up
coaster.
and down. Strap in. Yep. We'll move on to RLB, George. Rory Laird, someone I wish I brought in instead last week. Bruv. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't start hot, but just tackled his way to a nice score as he's done in the past. That was the one thing that was probably missing from him early in this year. And, well, to get, 12, I think it was, on the weekend. It's getting a bit colder, so, he's going to start hugging a few more people to get warm. So, yeah, he's 103 break even. So he's, I think, gone well in Collingwood against the pass. He's bottomed out, although obviously Collingwood they're chewing up points this, last probably year. Back half of last year and start of this year, they're sucking points from teams. So maybe it doesn't go as well this week, but it's Rory Laird, and he'll probably still go okay. So probably the clear target. Obviously he's the most expensive besides Clary, but better hit his straps, I think.
Yeah, he's just safe. Probably goes around 120-ish. Not much more to add.
Yeah.
And with a bit of upside as well. But yeah, he's just safe. He's going to be top 8. That you're paying less than what he can do. So might not reach those heights. Crows playing a bit quicker, like Rochelle and accelerating through stoppages as much as he can. They threw Sloan in there as well, a fair bit. I don't think that'll hold every week, but he'll be used there at times. So, he's a good target. So if you can grab him, then why not?
One last thing is I think, like you said, playing quicker. Maybe his kicking ratio is down just due to that. So a lot more handballs to you, kicking players that move it on quickly. So, yeah. Long as it's
I reckon he said that he's focusing more on dishing it out to Dawson or something like that.
I did see as quote.
I vaguely remember that, yeah.
So there you go. So this year, previous 2 years, 14 a game with 17, 18 handballs a game. This year, only 11 kicks a game with still 18 handballs. So there's a bit of a drop off in points there. So we're not expecting high 120s, but still it's still 115 plus, JD.
So two conflicting things for me on Laird this week. One, his track record against Collingwood is 161 over the last 3. He's absolutely feasted on them. But the Collingwood midfield that we're seeing this year is just different to past years. I think they're number 1 rated or roughly thereabouts for stopping Supercoach scoring. So I'm really unsure as to read into this as this is a great week to bring in Laird because the matchup's positive, or this is actually a week that maybe you could wait because maybe he doesn't even make a 103 or just barely makes it and he still has some more cash to drop.
Yeah. Look, either way, I think you probably want him in your team at some point. So if it's
you might get it, yeah.
If it's an average week against the Pies, you can hack it, George, because you've got him in your team and he's as I said, probably about to go. I think next week you'll still have okay break even. So yeah, I'm fine with getting him. Much more to be said about him, really. A bit more interesting is someone like Sam Walsh, who, well, if you ask a Carlton supporter, the way they play isn't great to watch, but it's good for Supercoach because they fling it around stoppage and backwards like no tomorrow. You know, him and Shearer and, well, especially Hewitt, he's the one flinging it backwards because I think he had 30 touches for 30 metres gained. So, but Sammy Walsh is skyrocketed back up to their number one CBA mid only after one extra week. So, interesting. They sort of fully kicked out Matty Kennedy now and Curnow and just stuck to a strict 4 there. Does that continue? Probably hope so, but comes up against West Coast this week. Would you want to jump on Samuel George, or what do you think
I'm going to say?
No. Hopefully you say no. He's had no preseason. It's been interrupted.
Exactly.
He's come back from injury. There's no way.
I died on the hill with English and didn't work out. So, but I don't like when there's alternatives.
Options.
There's alternatives that have had a full preseason. I owned him last year, and I reckon he was carrying the back because he didn't look right, and then he was a laid out. So, but he looks really good. Looks fit. Like even though has been an interrupted preseason, sounds like he's had like a lot of time to build. That being said, it's still a limited preseason, so it's a no for me. He could be good, and the CBAs have jumped. Whereas last year they were, I haven't looked, I reckon they would have been 50s or 60s because he was rolling up from half forward a fair bit. They had all those other names in there, but now they've kicked Kennedy out. We saw the year before, high CBAs, he's a 120 player. So he might be a good buy, but again, like why would I get Walsh when like Laird is there for 20k more, who's had a full preseason?
Yep. It's fair enough.
So breaking news before we return to our scheduled program. Fremantle star Andrew Brayshaw is in doubt for Saturday's clash against Brisbane after failing to get through main training. Appears to be carrying a knee issue. Sorry, so back was wrong, knee issues, right. And trained away from the main group, as you mentioned, and then wasn't a part of the match simulation. So if he does miss, just to round out that conversation, I think you can safely jump off Brayshaw, given that he's carrying an injury and that would keep him out for a game.
Okay. Yep. That makes sense. A few more mids, so we can't get through. But Zachy Merritt off his bogus suspension, as JD would probably agree with.
Might have been the difference on Anzac Day, but who's to know? Who's to know? Kind of needed some leadership in the fourth to stop us just getting absolutely walloped. But hey, moving on, 87 break even, so that's pretty good. I think the only downside with Merritt is, and this is why we were originally going to wait a little bit longer for him, is that we've got Geelong, Port, Brisbane the next 3. Actually, all those sides have been pretty good at stopping scoring this year. From at least a fantasy perspective, I'm not sure Geelong that holds true for Supercoach, but these are 3 tough games. The fixture in terms of midfield friendliness opens up after that. So if you're in a position where all you can afford this week is Zach Merritt and you want a midfielder because you're full of other lines, I don't mind jumping on him. But he is someone that's more in the back of my mind that it's like, round 9, round 10, that's probably where I think he's going to be, 550k, maybe still around the same price, but then the fixture opens up.
Yeah.
This is my favorite pick. I would have started him if he didn't have Finn McGuinness in round 1. It's just the safest pick. I watched not owning him last year. It was mad what he did post-buy. He just got 2 tags right at the end because he was just so out of control. Like you were tanking if you didn't tag him, basically.
Yeah. And
he probably would have gone 125 without those tags post-buy. So look, every year gets to 500. The only reason why he got to 500 last year because he got a head knock. But look, I think he's low break even. He has Port in 2 weeks and they tagged him last year. So that does concern me. I don't know whether they do or not. So I guess you can wait on him, but there's no chance I don't have him in my team at some point.
Do you remember who they used to tag him last year? Was it Pau Pepper? Was it Drew?
Drew.
Okay, because Drew has been getting midfield rotations like 50-60% a week. So it's like, if they tag him, it's not like they have to force a change in the midfield rotations, which is somewhat scary.
Well, I think Parrish has been good enough where he's in consideration for attention.
Come on. Not even close.
Do you reckon?
Nah, not even close. Merritt is just like the inside 50s from Merritt. And it's part of what we missed on the weekend. Like our anchors just weren't as good outside of Nick Martin. I just didn't see Yeah, Parrish has been good, but not to the same level of Merritt.
I just thought because how teams were taking Libba where Bont is better, that sort of thing. You get
same with
the
Blaird
source.
when Dawson's there as well. But I think Merritt's still probably the key to Essendon.
Yeah, he's a great target.
Comes down to the tag you have as well, I guess, what their strengths are. We'll heap in Parrish with that, I guess, as well. 110 break even, just a bit cheaper at 555. So I think I just agree with you, JD. That run, like you said, I keep saying don't read into fixtures, but it does really, really open up. And with that possible tag, don't know who's it's going to against Port and just a couple of tougher fixtures. I'd like waiting till about round 9 or 10 when it really opens up and just only for that back half run that he always goes on, Merritt. And then I probably won't look at Parrish personally, but I know he's a bit cheaper. So if you're struggling for cash, he's there as well. Sort of say, had a big second half yesterday. Now, another interesting one. One that sort of popped up sort of late, I guess, in relation to Tuke as well, is Fiorini, who obviously isn't in the price of any of these, but is still a target probably for this week, maybe next. But he does have a 46 break even and he's at 311k. So George, a couple of years ago, he went on a big run in the post-buy of 2021.
107. No, 108. 108.
Yeah, 108 for about 9 or 10 games, maybe 8 or 9 games. He's 25 years old. He's sort of never been able to hold a spot down in the midfield, and for good reason, I guess. Rowd, Anderson, and Tuke. Tuke out for, look, we don't know, but meniscus. I'm saying it's at least a month, really, and possibly more. Maybe, I think they have the early buy, but probably post buy. Is he someone you think about?
Not in this format. Is he going to? He might be fourth. We don't even know where he's in the pecking order. So number 1 and 2 are Anderson, Rao. I think third probably, most likely, I think Swallow. So he's been getting a fair few this year. And then maybe fourth, Fiorini. So, look, I don't know what he can average. I think he can do 85 plus. I'm not exactly sure what the setup is. They have a bunch of other guys they can throw in there. We know Flanders is back in 2 weeks, who might get some opportunity. I'm not sure. They mentioned Bailey Humphrey could get a chance through there. Elijah Hollins can go through there, but I think he's been a bit out of form. They might want to throw him in the 2s for a bit longer. There's a name I'm missing as well. Don't remember. Regardless, it's not really. He's not a keeper. He's on borrowed time. And I'd just rather get premiums in because it's limited trade format. So I guess if you're flush for trades, you could think about it. But I'm not exactly sure what his CBAs will be. Yep. So I'll probably just pass and go safer route. Yep. Could be good though.
For people that wonder why some get excited about Fiorini, I think his last 14 VFL games where he does play is just that on baller. It's 133 fantasy average over that period of time. And as George mentioned in 2021, the back end of that year, we saw that translate into Supercoach scoring as well. But does he get enough on-ball time for that to be the case this year? Still not sure. That Puff piece obviously came out, but it was a mix of he'll get more time, but also he doesn't need to be took million. He just needs to continue to play his role. And that's been, mixing in half forward. So, there's almost no way I'd go on this pick this week. I would wait one. And if it does look like he's going to get 70% CBAs and jump on, but I couldn't do it to myself this week.
Yeah, it's really hard in Supercoach. Where are you going? You're sort of just sidewaysing Ashcroft, or I guess the big one would be you're taking the 130 out of Setterfield and using that elsewhere. But I don't know. You'd be using a boost to do it. I don't know if it's just logical in Supercoach, sort of a pick like that at this point in the season. But he definitely can. If he's third, clear third right ahead of Swallow, he can most definitely do 90 plus, and at that price, we'll make a fair bit of money. All right, that's all the mids. A couple of guys who, are also mids, but they are predominantly forwards for Supercoach. Anyway, is Cogs and Butters. Both guys sort of similar price and similar break even. So Cogs obviously had a big sort of bounce back game in a way, put it all together and went 130 plus, is now just under 500 with a 49 break even. So it's sort of now you want to get him at that price. I know if he tons up, say he might be 520-ish next week, so still affordable, but last week was a great time to get him right at 480. So what do we think of Cogs, guys? Think George doesn't have him. JD, you have him? No.
I do
you
have
do,
him.
right?
Yep,
You
yep,
do, right?
sure.
Part of your big week. Advise others to jump on board.
I don't really want to own him, so no, I probably wouldn't advise people jumping on. Yeah, I like. He's been disappointing from a Supercoach perspective. I'm a little bit worried that he hasn't scored well with the team altogether. So he scored okay in round 1 after Perryman went down, and then Perryman's been out, came back this week, but then Green was out. So like
Jelly was out.
He scored well when in that first game as well. Like Jelly was concussed, and then he had a big fourth, and it was like all right week 2, but then no good week 3. So I'm really unsure as to what Cogs is. I guess on the plus side, he is 79% CBAs for the year so far. So the role is absolutely there. And when comparing someone like Butters, like that is a concern for Butters. Do they continue to move around his mid-time or just not give him enough? Where that concern's not really there with Cogs. It's a bit like owning Taranto. You just have to watch the kicking and the clangers and then decide if you want to put yourself through that each week. So yeah, I think you can get on. 500k is a good price point. He probably does go low to mid 100s from here, but it's just been a hard slog watching and owning so far. We've had one good week since I got him, so yeah.
Yeah, getting him, I guess, when you did wasn't as optimal. But what do you think, George? I know you're not the major fan either.
I love Cogs. I worry he never played 22. We saw him need a rest towards the end of last year. He's playing high mid minutes. Like I think he only had 3 games last year above 80% CBAs. Yeah, 3. And this year he's already had 4. So the CBAs have actually gone up since like in the block where Leon left in that period. So yeah, the CBA is actually better than that period last year, which gives me a bit of confidence. Honestly, I'm broke as hell, and he's sub 500, and the role is there. It should stick, and I will take a 95. To be honest, if that's what he is, I'll take it.
All right. So Sydney Swans this week, second hardest midfield to score on. Dogs the week after, fourth hardest. Pies the week after that, first hardest. His fixture is so scuffed from here. Just saying.
What was Brisbane before the weekend though? Easy.
Yeah, it's a good question. It was a good question. It was actually interesting that they could all be scored on, right?
They did well, yeah, but forward of the ball, Lions just dominated, and Charlie kicks 7. But Butters, George, like we'll group him in here, right? He's not much more expensive, maybe 15k, and similar break even
at the moment, but it's probably skewed towards last week. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You worry with Cogs? You worry with Butters? The same.
Cogs should have 20 to 25% more CBAs than Butters for the rest of the year. I think Butters got the 55 last week. Butters a bit younger, which I like a bit better. And who's got the biggest ceiling? Probably both have similar, but Cogs has probably shown the bigger one over the past year. I think both of their durability isn't super great. I think Cogs probably a little better because he cops less knocks, I guess. Kind of not too keen on either, to be honest, but probably edge Cogs just because of the CBAs.
Yeah. Porter really, it's like a 5-man rotation, and it's all evenly split, really. Maybe Rosie is the number 1, and then sort of split amongst the other 4. So it's a little bit of a downside for Butters, I guess. But he's probably never going to be like 70 plus 80 guy. Really, it's maybe 60s at best. So I think I like Butters more at some point, but it's hard. Because Cogs is probably pretty safe and a little bit cheaper. But they're sort of both around 50 break even, right? So if you really want them, you're probably going at least, you're going this week. Hopefully get a spike score. All right, we've still got a bit more to get through. Now we go back to the defenders. The main guy is Will Day. everyone's sort of waiting for him off suspension. Obviously, a couple of 2 weeks. 450k had that, that last game he played, right, was a ton and looks really good. And rose from 400, I think, made the 50k that week, but his break even's 15. So really, if you were impressed by that and you're interested, you got to get him this week. Start with you, JD. I know you are a fan. Held him in other formats.
Yep.
Are you jumping on?
Yep. 115 average last 3. They're the 3 he's been playing midfield. Looks to be their best CBA mid. They edged him up to 80%. He was best on ground form the 2 weeks before he got suspended. I don't see why his role changes, apart from Nash looking really good, to be perfectly honest, while days go on. But yeah, he is a very good player. I'm totally sold on his talent, and I think the role is going to be there. So for 450k, this is the type of gamble I need to make, given I have low funds. So yeah, bit of a blessing for me, to be perfectly honest. I would have liked it to have been 1 week suspension, so I could have done it last week. Would have also saved me from Took Miller, because Day was my preferred trade target last week. That's a little bit of a shame, but yeah, I'm keen for him. I want him.
George.
So I'm just trading out Brayshaw on my fantasy team. What a mess. Don't know. He looks good. He's done 115 in the mids. I think the 60 to 80% CBA role holds because he's their best mid, it seems. Yeah, I think he's a good pick, but for whatever reason, I'm going Cogs. I think it's more the fact that Cogs has done it for 8 years, 9 years in a row, and Day has done it for 4 games, 3 games. Day looks really good, though.
If you see them both going low 100s, a low 100s in the forward line is probably going to be better than low 100s in defense, to be honest.
I don't know. I guess we could have the conversation how the defenders are looking, and really outside of those big 3, what else is, I don't think we're going to... Doc's not 110. Sinclair maybe not this year. Sis is, well, infuriating if you're an owner like me. I think it'll be all right.
Well, maybe.
JD, the more you look at the line.
Yeah, I agree.
6 rounds in, but,
Okay. I could be sold on that. I mean, I'm going Day, so and I've already got Cogs. So
you love that.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, he's a keeper, sure. Yeah, totally. I think Day's only concern is his body, and I think you somewhat insured against that a little bit, just because you're paying 450, you're not paying 550, 600 for him.
Yeah, I think it's a good option. I think he'll do high 90s.
Yeah,
I'll go bang on 100 from here. I think he does.
Yeah,
it's interesting though. I've from our some of our groups, he's not a preferred option at all.
It's almost the body that stresses me out for me.
It's maybe that, but it's also Hawks, JD, and I've owned too many Hawks players to begin this year, and I don't know if I want another one, and I don't know what they do with the mix, right? I guess they dropped Ned Long, right, who's wasn't really playing midfield, but then what happens? So I guess Warple gets shoved more forward. Nash has been playing really, really well. Newcomb obviously is a bit of a mainstay. I don't know. Does he get back to 80s like what he was getting, which was just one game, mind you? It was 60s before that.
Been trending up, though. Trend's your friend.
Yeah, okay, 63, 65, 82. I'll count the 60s as whatever, because it depends on the goals kicked in the game, but that one game with 80, right? Nash was just, I think he just maybe entered the midfield. No, I don't know. That's my only concern. The tankathon over here at Hawthorn, we got James Sicily running off the ground with 3 minutes to go, and his direct opponent kicks a goal. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I wanted more part of it. That's all.
The good news is they play the Bulldogs this week, so they won't need to worry about winning.
Yeah. Anyway, I think, now or never, really. I mean, not never, but very much preferred now. And then Sinclair, we've really spoken about it, and Stewart's the other one who, again, sleepwalked to another 110, sitting at around 600k now. I think 597 and about a 98 break even. So still pretty gettable. Big run of games at home coming up. That's where he likes to do the business. Geelong choke every team that goes down there, make the ground look really small, and just laps it up behind the footy. So still a pretty good option in my eyes, and a really good buy, of course, George. So I don't know, mate. There's not other options, as we were just saying, that are, around the 110 mark. You might have to look at Stewart this year, mate.
Wait for injury.
We already had it.
Happen again. Always does. No, that's a pretty dumb way to play the game. You probably,
the
if
fact
he
that
does,
this year
probably
now
sell for
he's clear
650.
like top 3, and
Yeah.
last year it was, there was 5 others.
All right. There are people that are waiting for English's injury and Dacos to get tagged. So I don't know.
And they're at 30K.
You do you, I guess.
Traded him in fantasy last year, and oh my god, the guy.
You
didn't
still
even
got that
go
in your
80.
head because he got
I can't believe that.
he got one mega tag
Sold
and
out.
then yeah.
No, he looks really good. He's actually his first full preseason in ages. I think you mentioned that. He's top 3 defender. What more can I say? But I'm just going to death ride because I can, and it's free. Anyway, can't afford him anyway. I got to get a sub 550 at the moment.
That's part of the problem, right? He's still 600, so really only dropped for that 1 week and went straight back up. So, yeah, I'd like to get him. It's just the price makes it a little bit hard. So yeah, I don't know. We'll look at him. Get him at some point, JD, I'm sure. You're looking at Dawson as the same. So yeah, look, you're gonna want him in your team unless you're George and you just have to ride an agenda for the rest of your life. It's not possible to turn that around. Then yeah, he's clear top 3 this year. Let's move on. Been a big one. We got some rookies to cover off, and then maybe some captaincy. So clear number 1 guy this week, boys. Not much to say, although we said that last week, and I don't want to curse him, but Matty Roberts didn't go down well. But of course, injury. So Seamus Mitchell looked really, really good in the first 2 weeks of his AFL career. Takes the game on. Just your classic Irishman. Bit of a, I don't want to say he's like McKinnon a lot, but he's a pretty similar player in what he does. Always like what they bring. Brought in by almost 30,000 coaches. So obviously he's a big reliance for a lot of us on making some cash. And I think he's played well enough to stay in the team. So obviously all goes well named. He's all coming in to your team, boy. That's nothing else can be said.
Yeah, I think he's good enough to hold his spot. Played well. Played on Rankin. Rankin didn't do much.
Yep. Did really well.
He can find the ball. I think he did in the VFL. He's one or 2 games back there. So he looks good. I'll probably field him. Not super confident, but I think he's better than like Cow and Wilmot.
Comfortably.
I feel like he offers something different to some of the other defenders as well. So I actually like him in the mix.
Yeah, I agree. Your CJs and MPs and also do similar thing. Yeah, don't mind him. Think they got a persist, but we'll see. That's another tankathon player. Corey Wagner, who was probably not really on a lot of on people's radars, but I wasn't super interested with just how he's played and worried about his spot. But Heath Chapman, this Arvo today, their main training also that we found out about Brayshaw, Chapman's gone down as well with a hamstring. So I guess it was a main threat to his spot, but there's still guys like maybe Nathan Wilson. I still feel like he might be teetering on the edge and just is a little bit of a risk, but I guess you can be more assured that Chappie's out the way for a little bit. So 117K defender mid. Any interest, guys? If you're obviously getting 2 rookies, would he be amongst your second?
No. Could be good. I can't risk a job security. A poor job security rookie. Well, I don't think he's a good player at all. So he's been delisted twice, and he looked like one that's been delisted twice. He has a good role, at least. So I think I was saying in my video, at least he brings a bit of energy to that back line. Like he's proactive, whereas the rest of them can't be fucked doing anything. Or
They
just,
must get frustrated with him
lazy.
because he's not just playing kick to kick in the back line. He actually wants to try and move the ball forward.
Yeah, Luke Ryan's like, hey, babe, get back here, mate. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Put me in the back pocket. I need another kick, you bastard.
But even when he was trying to take it on, it hit like the opposition on the chest a few times.
look,
and even
was
some
that-
of them were like close calls as well.
Yeah.
I don't think he's future piece for them. But look, man, I don't know. I don't know if he holds, and that's not enough for someone with already poor bench. So I'll pass.
Fair enough. JD, you sit the same.
If I had to go another rookie, it's probably him. I don't know. I could see it being who we're going to talk about next. But yeah, like I think given that like defender mid rookie's been pretty rubbish, I could see people wanting to move on, someone and put him in. And I don't mind it if he holds this week.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think it's him. I guess there's upside if he holds it. He will make more cash than the next guy, Sam Sturt, who I think
actually
is
hold
more
on.
locked
So,
into the team.
like Dill Williams, we kind of like he was the one that we had number 2 last week, and then we avoided because he ended up being the sub in the end.
Yeah.
But his job security seems to be pretty good with Kane Farrell out for the short term, like with a broken jaw, I think it is. Is there any chance people should be looking at him if they really want to bring in a second rookie, like 160k? He's got a break even of 4 or something like that. Yes, he's now got this 37 in his score, but I mean, he looks, I think, better than at least Wagner. Yeah.
Is he going to get to 300? And look, we probably can't set a
I'm not
target
paying
anymore.
160.
Yeah, it's
I can't do that.
Frustrating.
Could be sub risk going forward. Obviously, job security's improved now, but I can still see him being sub.
I think I take Wagner still. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Williams enough. I'd probably take the punt on him.
Yeah. Very easy to say. With none of us need a second rookie this week, so I will add that.
I do.
George does. Yeah, well, you're going this next guy, aren't you? Oh, Sammy Sturt.
Yes, I thought he looked all right. He's had ceiling games. Had one in the preseason. Had one a few years ago. He was a rookie for us. Looked like a must-have
year.
rookie, and then got injured. He played 17 games in the Waffle last year, so it gives you a bit of confidence you can put through a month or two together. I think they have to play him. They got injuries up forward. Freddie's out as well. I'll go Sturt on my bench. Roll is worse than Wagner, but I'll take it.
What's the rest of your rookie situation up front? Because I could just see like there's probably a ton of teams that have like Davey, Green, one of like Ryan or JVR, maybe Chandler still, and then you're like throwing Sturt into the mix. It feels like you have to like field 2 of these forward rookies every week, and I think we're getting to the point where like I don't really want them on my bench. So like, are you worried about the F6 that you're going to have to field each week, bringing in Sturt?
If JVR has North this week, so
he might not get subbed out and then kick through in the last.
I can loop Sturt and JVR for a few weeks, and look, it's not ideal, but it's literally like the least of my problems. Given cash, so look, I've been fielding Cowan. Yeah, I think so. He's a talent. He was top. I think he was first rounder in 2018.
Yeah,
I don't know why he hasn't been playing, but he looks good. So yeah, I can loop rookies for a bit and just hope that I can get like a 50 out of one of them. I mean, I've been playing Wilmot and Cowan for ages, not ideally. But yeah, I will probably get him off the field in 3 weeks. So yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
At least I can loop. And also, I think I'll get Chincotta next week, so that means I can take him off the field, actually.
Yeah. Well, just ruin the next part, George. But yeah, we'll go to Chincotta, who has played 1, of course. We'll just talk about a couple of guys that have played 1. I guess a few people might have already gone early on him, and they might do that again this week. But I'll be waiting just to make sure that when Sard is back, he's still in the team. But I think that'll be at the expense of Cow. And so really it's Doherty and I think listed as 2 to 4, and we just really won't know. I think Chincotta was probably one of their better 5, so players on the weekend, and in a loss, that bodes pretty well. So pretty confident, but I'll still wait the week, take Seamus this week, and hopefully look at him next week as a downgrade from one of the defenders. 102k is obviously very nice. So don't really need to speak much more. I think he'd be the number 1 target next week. And the other one's Sam Simpson, who probably a lot of people forgot about it. I think he played a game for maybe 600 days. Maybe I think it was a qualifying final in like 2021. Was a part of their teams across a couple of year period there. Played quite a bit, but 160k, scored an 80. I think I want to say was it? A couple of goals. But yeah, a bit of an elevated price, but probably stays in for Stengel's out for a while. They got a couple of other injuries, so yeah. Look, one to monitor, but yeah, bit of an elevated price hurts a bit, and playing like a forward role, so half forward, something like that. One to look at, but yeah, only a desperation, I guess, in a couple of weeks or next week.
The other one is Angwin from the Giants, had 20 touches. They've got a few injuries. Yeah, they have a few injuries.
So was it Cooper Hamilton that got dropped for him that was playing a bit of wing?
Honestly, I haven't looked into it. It's one I'll cross that bridge next week.
Yeah, I think Hamilton, the kid that bleached his hair. But yeah, 20 touches for 60 is not amazing. But look, 123k if we're struggling and you need the second one next week, he might be it. So we'll see. All right, captains, can you guys try and help me not
English day costs this week? Every week, English day costs. Don't think about anything else.
I'll go Oliver.
Man, it just got Bonds 180. You prick.
Yeah.
That Hawks match
and
was
I
pretty
do
nice,
it again.
So could Bont. That's my point. My God, against Hawks. Look, they've been all right. Maybe Nash, maybe it's a bigger body. Can look, it's Bont's Bont. It'll probably still go well, but maybe they can quell him. Whereas, yeah, English, I don't know if you can quell that man. Yeah, I know you don't know Clary, JD, so maybe it's a bit different because against North might be a big one, but
yeah. Would you vice captain Clary over English or Bont?
This week I will, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say it because it's been stupid all year, but I think I'd do English into Clary and find another reason not to do Dacos, but probably English into Clary, I think.
Yeah, it's very annoying that Dacos has been the last.
Keeps playing Sunday.
Round. Yeah, I want him to be my vice captain. Can you please stop doing that?
I guess he's probably the safest C though in the game, really, because you're getting at minimum 100 really, but it might not just be a 140 because look, he had 40 and 2 and went 140, right? If that's Bond, he's going 200, but yeah, he's probably a very he's the safest captain if you need a backup, which I probably should have clicked in my head last week that just need a solid captain score, go Nick, because you're going to get at least a triple, probably a ton. But yeah, there's quite a few good matchups this week, which in turn there's quite a few dull games, but there's a few options.
English's lowest score for the year so far is a 131. So yeah, I can't see myself unless I go Bond. That's like the only thing, just because Bond is starting to hit that patch of form.
Yeah,
and his track record against Hawks is pretty good. Where I don't think English is as good, but I do wonder with the Hawks this week whether they send Nash to man him and kind of keep him more accountable than what he has been. Not sure.
I'd say most likely, right? Libba's out with concussion. Baz's test with the calf. So I don't see how that probably doesn't happen. Nash would go to him. What are you looking at, George?
Oliver into Dacos.
Yep.
I think my preferred C is Oliver this week. With the highest ceiling this week, I think it's probably Oliver against North. So I want the VC on him. I wonder if Keys goes to Dacos. It wasn't like a hard take on Sard, but he spent some time on him when Keys was on him a few weeks back. I think Sard, if he didn't get injured, probably would have gone 110 anyway. Yeah, I think I'll run it with Oliver. Oliver, a few down games due for a big one versus North, who are garbage. So we'll go with that. Probably the last time I forgo English VC, though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. A bit not risky, but you're sort of just pretty safe with English at the moment. Should do pretty well. Any last thoughts, boys? I don't think There's much more to go. We've had quite a long one. Talked about a lot of players. Maybe last quick shout out to the leagues, which we should do every week because I thought maybe a bit of a down week, but no, still went pretty well. Held a lot of spots. I guess it was quite a tough week for a lot of people, but still I think the top 7 20-man leagues and then a few below that. So I mean that top league is like almost 2,000 points ahead of second. So probably hard to see that losing its spot, but of course anything can happen over the course of the year. Shout out to all those part of those leagues and below. Hopefully keep on going well. And good luck this week. Probably stream for myself if any of you boys are keen to join. Thursday or Friday, we'll see. Play it by ear, but back to normal. Long round last week. George went forever, so back to some normal.
Dude, I was waiting for lockout. I never felt like that was like waiting for lockout that much.
Forgot how long ago that I've missed the Bont 180. And it was got a game in a couple of days. So good. Footy's almost back. We'll catch you on the next stream, next video, and thanks for watching. Cheers.